Hello, this is Kat Treadgold. Welcome once again to My Characters Interview Me, Mr. Movie Star Edition, Part 2. Today I'm chatting with Rose Poppins, George's new private chef in Mr. Movie Star. Rose, we've got to be careful not to reveal any spoilers for our readers. I hear you have some questions for me. Okay, yes. For starters, am I you? It seems as if we have a lot in common, to put it mildly. They do say, write what you know. Until now, I've created characters with very different lives and personalities than mine. In my limited stage work, I was a better character actress than an ingenue. What I enjoyed most was playing men or boys, and the scenes I write from the male point of view are the ones I enjoy most, too. I've had a lot of close male friends, some of them straight. I was always curious about the inner workings of men's minds and encouraged them to speak candidly. My husband, whom I've been with since 2007, is a guy's guy, and I like talking to his guy's guy friends. You dedicated our book to Jeff and all the men everywhere who respect women and treat them as equals. So what do you mean by guy's guys? I don't mean misogynists, that's for sure. In my books, no matter how charming, the men are all golden retrievers when it comes right down to it. Sweet, affectionate, uncomplicated, and once they're hitched, faithful to one woman. Of course, they don't start out that way. The one special trait they all have in common is a sense of humor, especially when it comes to themselves. To me, a guy's guy is someone who likes to fix things, jokes around a lot, doesn't talk too much about his feelings, but will, if encouraged enough. In other words, he isn't a ladies' man, the kind who says what he thinks women want to hear, then turns around and acts like a jerk. These are gross generalizations and have nothing to do with sexual preference. A gay man can totally be a guy's guy, like Joe's best friend Matthew. George starts out as what they used to call a playboy, without much thought of ever committing to one woman, until he meets you. Careful, we said no spoilers. It's a romance. Of course you end up together. So you're one of those women whose friends are all men? Heaven forbid. Not at all. My best buds, the ones I've known for ages and treasure the most, are women. Sometimes we lose touch for a while, but when we meet again, or call, it's like no time has passed. Some of your friends, Rose, that I mention in this book are based on people I've known. One of them has passed away, so this is one way of remembering her. But yes, of all my female protagonists so far, you are the closest to me. That's because I wanted to get the Princeton references right. I couldn't risk going into detail about stuff I didn't know, like performing with the Princeton Triangle Club, or belonging to the eating club Cap and Gown. I can only report what I heard from others, and I didn't have a single friend who was involved with either. Our most famous Triangle Club alum was Doug McGrath, and he was quite honestly one of the nicest people you could ever hope to meet. We had a passing acquaintance, because we didn't inhabit the same friend circles. He died in 2022 while doing a one-man show on Broadway, a heart attack when no one was around, much like your mom. Did you lose a parent in a similar way? My father died very quickly, over the course of a weekend, from acute leukemia. He had just turned 72. I was 36 at the time. Losing a parent with almost no warning is brutal at any age, and before you ask, my father was a professor, and that's where the similarities with Rose's father ends. He was a professor of Russian history, and his own wife, my mother, outlived him by over 10 years. On to a happier subject. How do you feel about Shakespeare? Probably more positive than you do. I've seen a good number of his plays, especially the comedies, and read many of them in high school. We are fortunate to have so many cool movie versions, thanks mostly to Kenneth Branagh. My high school class saw Roman Polanski's Macbeth on a field trip. It blew our minds. Afterward, we were all talking about the anatomically correct beheading and the nude witches at the beginning. Shows like Game of Thrones have made ultra-realistic screen violence commonplace. I'm not a fan of violent shows, but I did love Game of Thrones because of its marvelous acting and storytelling. One thing I really can't handle on screen is torture. Like you, I have always been prone to nightmares, some of them gruesome. That's why I write romance. I hate sad endings. Hi, this is Kat Treadgold. Thanks for joining me for another episode of My Characters Interview Me. I'm currently standing in our backyard in Yuma, Arizona. I'll give you a little overview of it. We try to stick to desert plants pretty much because it gets brutal here in the summer, something like 115 degrees, and it can stay that way for days. That's why we're about to head home to Washington. See you next time.